What's up, guys? Ben here bringing you another video today. There's been a lot of roster news in the last couple of days, and we've started to get a lot of finality. At least we think there's finality with regards to the top like 6-7 teams in the league. So I thought it'd be time for another Rostermania Q&A. So I reached out on Twitter. Shout out to everybody that responded. I got about 17 to 20 different questions we're going to run through. I'm going to give you my thoughts and answers as we work through some of the issues in Rostermania, as well as a lot of the rumors around LAG and the Falcons. So let's dive in. All right, first question from KC. What do you think about the Falcons tax? And you think that will deter them away from buying out some of the best players in the league year and year out? So this is coming off of a Ronnie article with regards to the situation around Dan Gosey potentially being an option for them. And he included his article something about a Falcons tax, which truly really is just, and it's existed in esports and pro sports. At the end of the day, teams that are willing to spend money don't have leverage to negotiate down a buyout or, you know, kind of a money exchanging hands price. So there is always I don't want to call it a tax, but there's always gonna be a little bit of a premium just because people know that you have bank on that side, you don't have leverage. So I don't really think much of it. I don't really think it's going to change much of Falcons strategy. It's just going to be something that they've been dealing with, not just in this esport, but in other esports, and just kind of a product of how things work in a capitalist society. We got Inspires asking, what should the Boston Breach do? Now, shout out to Rostermania.com. So I got the Boston situation here. It looks like Snoopy is rumored to maybe be going off to Miami. So if they run back Cammy and Purge, Jamie Insight is available, but I wouldn't necessarily pair him in this situation. I would probably try and go with some kind of aggressive sub players. So I'm going to assume for a second that the OMED team is staying together for this thing. So what I would do is probably like a Kyle Kremp and then maybe like a Gwyn Angle. Gwyn runs an AR, Cammy runs her main, you have Purge and Kremp. I don't actually hate this team because there's a lot of, this adds a little bit of slang and some good S&D play. But Boston's just going to have to wait and see. They're kind of not in a position of Rostermania where they can really dictate things. But again, if you're not going after the OMID players, I kind of like the option potentially here. Who do I think the biggest loser of Rostermania is going to be from Killzoid? I think probably like Carolina. Whoever is going to get that bottom team that waits till the middle of September to make their team is probably going to be like a Carolina. They're going to be the loser. So it's hard to say right now because I think a lot of the top 6 teams, it kind of makes sense to me on paper what they're trying to do. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those bottom teams that's just never going to have a shot this year. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be bottom dwelling the entire season. All right, I've been getting this question a lot. So we got an example here from Scott. Scrap and Hydra eyeing Optic in 2026. Look, I think everybody needs to slow their roll about next year's offseason. Yes, it's fun to talk about all these potential superstar players being free agents, but we have no idea what the market conditions are going to be like. We have no idea who's going to stick together after that year. And so I would tell everybody that the future conversations about Rostermania next season, let's focus on the current Rostermania because who knows who's going to be in play for spots and super teams and all of that. I think it's just like really pointless to speculate on those things. All right, we got Kyle on Twitter. Is it BZ going to Thieves, him saying that Scrap and Hydra are better than Stellium and Simp? I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think it's more of a case of the trio breaking up and Thieves is a BZ's best option. I think it's just very simple as that. All right, we keep it moving and grooving. We got Garrison. Do you think the phase roster will be able to set pace unlike most people think? I know the addition of a Boost in 04 will probably free up Sim to make plays that he likes, but a lot of people don't think so. Curious on your thoughts. I think those people are stupid. I think if you look at the stats for Abuza in 04, they're not slow players. I think Simp generally isn't that slow if you look at his interaction numbers. So I think it's a bit of an eye test thing. I do think that they should be able to play with pace. The only thing is that with the Beezy on the team, with Cell on the team, they need players like Draza and Simp to step up on this roster because, you know, I think they lost a little bit of talent, but they may gain a little bit more in teamwork and cohesion. That's a big piece of how teams play well, especially last season, and we would assume the upcoming season as well. All right, we got Friday 5155. Any intel on where Rambo Ray is headed and could his presence on a team like G2 or C9 sway some of the second level FAs to join him? I think the problem is that I don't see that where Ray is going. I think Ray to LAG seems like a really good option potentially for him, and they're going to have a very good team. Yeah, it's possible that he may become a package deal with some players. We're just going to have to wait and see, but I want to see first who LAG gets their coach because I can see Ray filling that spot with Envoy and Nasty rumored to be going there, and Neptune, like players that he's coached, especially last year. Jediah Goldman, Jetty G-Man, where do you think Gwyn ends up? I think right now there's a good chance Gwyn is going to LAG. He's been linked with rumors there. So if he doesn't get in that situation, it's going to really depend on some of those like Vancouver, C9, Boston type situations. But I would wait because the rumors that I have heard is that he's definitely heavily linked to the Gentlemates project that is going on in that spot. My guy Cohen stopped. Do you know if Draza, 04, and Abuja signed 1-year contracts in multiple years? I have no idea. Unfortunately, the league does not make contracts public. So I'll check in on that, but it's tough. I'm going to have to ask around, and I'm not really sure what's going on there. Normally, FaZe signs people to 1+1s, but I don't know what they're doing this year with regards to their squad. Larry Fish on Twitter. Do you think teams will take a chance on any of the Halo guys, specifically Legend? I don't think that they will take a chance on them to begin the year, but I can see those players potentially getting a sub spot on one of those rosters. And by major one, if they are playing well, getting picked up. I would be surprised if any of those Halo guys get into one of the bottom team situations off the rip, but we'll see how things break out. But no top teams, I think, are going after the Halo guys right now. Oddity asks, why did Crazy Mamba not get on a top team? Was it their choice or did they not get any offers? I think there's just a lot of top players that shuffled during this Rostermania. So while I thought Crazy Mamba had a great end of the season and definitely looked great against pro players, I just think that the shuffle didn't really work in their favor. And so I think they're going to end up probably sticking with the rest of their boys on a team, but we'll see. I think it's just a product of how this Rostermania really broke out. Not really with respect to their talent, because I think both those guys are definitely talented. Kamikaze with an interesting question: is salary cap a good thing or bad thing? No Activision already got hit that they couldn't do it, but it would make for more fair teams. In my honest opinion, I think it would help the league, but again, and we've talked about why there's no contractual bargaining agreement with the players in the league, no like employer-employee agreement in place, and therefore a salary cap or a competitive balance tax, because it wasn't a salary cap, it was a soft competitive balance tax that would tax, you know, in the beginning of the CDL and the OWL, every dollar you spent over the tax, you would be taxed 100% of that dollar. So it wasn't like a hard salary cap. I think it would help, but I think there are teams in the league that would be willing to go over and then pay the balance. So I don't know how much it really, if we'd still have it, how much would be a thing. A hard salary cap, different conversation. I think that would even out compensation in the league quite a bit and probably spread the talent around too. Thomas asks, with the Falcons increasing the wealth gap in the CDL, can you see the league implementing other sports rules, such as a franchise tag in football or bird plus years? 4 years plus in basketball, or even a qualifying offer like baseball. So the problem with pro sports is you have drafts in those leagues. And so when you have tags and compensation picks and bird years and qualifying offers, is usually a like compensation of some kind of draft pick going the other way if someone, you know, that player decides to go to another team. I just don't really know how like functionally in CDL you would do something like that. And I just think teams wouldn't want to hold the player back if they want to leave. So I'm sure someone can come up with some interesting ideas, but off the dome, like, I don't really know without a salary cap what else you can do to minimize the wealth gap, so to speak. We got Bhagwandi Astro takes. I know not every roster is formed yet, but given that the top 6-7 are mostly known, how many teams do you think have a real chance to win events in Black Ops 7? Is it possible for a best of the rest team to truly compete in such a top heavy league? So you're talking like maybe like a Vancouver situation from this year, because we kind of poo-pooed them. Then they replaced Charlie for Neptune. And you saw what happened. They had a couple chances to win. I think on paper, Optic, Thieves, FaZe, Toronto, once we know they're fourth, Falcons, when we know they're fourth, and LAG, you know, if it's a Dylan Envoy, Neptune, like team we've heard. I think all of those teams, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 6 of them have a chance. Miami could be really interesting. And this is a rumored Miami roster. But yeah, I think there's a good chance of some parity this year with how the talent is spread out. We just don't know much about the game coming out, but I think the talent has distributed itself well, and I think we've got a lot of quality teams in the league. Lloyd Christmas asked a similar question, but asked kind of almost a different way. How would you rank the rumored rosters so far? So obviously I'm gonna put Optic first. They just won back-to-back events. I would put Thieves second, and then probably FaZe in Toronto, because I think there's more function to their team. And I don't know who Toronto's fourth is yet, but even with Jamie, I would tie them up. Falcons, I would probably put on the same level as the rumored LAG roster. Falcons is the biggest wild card to me, right? Because if they get Sib, it's just like the world's weirdest team in the sense of I think they have the talent to win, but I don't know if they can put it together. But yeah, that's kind of how I would rank it as far as tiers and the order. We got Kendrick, not different Kendrick, not the Kendrick you might be thinking of. Uplink for Black Ops 7 third game mode. Eyes emoji. Feel like it could work with the wall jump type mechanic. Listen, I would love Uplink, bro. Let's send control to the pasture. Get out of here. Give me Uplink. I'm so down. I've heard that definitely there's a lot of momentum to try and do a better search for a third game mode because control has not really worked out the last couple of years. Anthony asks, when do you think there is going to be announcements or official signings starting? What's future impacts as the Falcons starting to impact leagues like Optic and Thieves? Will there be a strategy of of investing more heavily in challengers if top FAs take bigger salaries? All right, there's a couple of questions here. Question one, announcements probably end of August, early September. All these teams got to do content. There's definitely going to be some branding changes with like Toronto KOI. So there's going to be a little bit of delay in when official announcements happen, and they'll probably be towards more the beginning of the fall. As far as the Falcons' money changing the league, I don't really think it changes with the top teams how they conduct business. And I'll be honest with the bottom teams, I don't really think it changes that much. It only just means that Falcons is going to be willing to pay more, but there's still so many good players in the league, and there's going to be competitive salaries amongst the teams that spend. I don't think there's that much of a impact on like the strategy on most of the teams as far as like dipping into challengers and stuff like that. S Surge asks, do you think Heretics will continue the Spanish project? Maybe Eric Boom back in the mix, or keep Spanish speaking by bringing in Snoopy, or should try to get Neptune or a top tier player? I thought at one point this Rostermania that Heretics might go with a mixed team. I think they're going to try and make their team still kind of Spanish speaking. So that's why I think they may bring Metals back and bring in Snoopy. But Trakes is also another option for a quality player who could speak Spanish. So I think that's where they're going to go. We'll see if they go the mixed route if things don't work out in their way, because Neptune would be a good ad for their team. But yeah, that's the current rumor is in regards to their squad. All right, 2 more questions left. Matt DeBro asks, if Optic wins 2 or 3 events a year, do you think they do whatever it takes to keep the team together? Pack or punch, go for Hydra? I think it depends on what events they win, right? They win Major 1 and 2 and then, get smoked at the end of the year. I think they make a change. But if one of those events they're winning is like EWC or Champs, they probably stick. It's like an impossible question to really answer at this point, but I understand why you're curious. My thoughts. And our last question from Ahmad, are relationships between teams good? Some definitely don't have good relationships, as you've seen with the KOI Heretic situation. That is definitely one for the birds. But I think most teams, most owners are pretty, most teams are pretty good with each other because they have to conduct business. They all run the league together. But there are some orgs that definitely, I think, are not, I would say, friends. There are some that definitely, are friends. It's just kind of how the world of politics works. So yeah, that was our Q&A. Shout out to everybody that sent in questions. It was a great batch of questions. I'm going to try and do these probably one more time during Rostermania, probably next week. So be on the lookout for that. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video. Like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.